What's up, everybody? It's Sid and Millie back with another episode.
Facts.
Talking about another show that we've been watching. I mean, kind of a repeat, but not
Yeah.
repeat, spin-off repeat, I
Yeah.
guess would be the
Yeah.
best way to put it. We'll be talking about the Naked and Afraid Last One Standing series
Facts.
specifically.
Facts.
So Millie, I would love if you could give us a little like
Struggling
synopsis
over
of
here.
what the point of the Last One Standing
Yeah, definitely.
spin-off is.
Well, basically, Last One Standing is another Naked and Afraid iteration. As you know, we've been watching Naked and Afraid. And so naturally, we branched out into some of its subsidiaries, some of the other shows that have been
Yes.
in their kind of umbrella of shows. And the most recent one we've been watching is Last One Standing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, last one standing, it's like an opportunity for some of the more, I guess, like experienced or tenured Naked and Afraid participants
Yeah.
to come back and compete to win $100,000.
Right. Yeah. So massive competition and a little bit of a different take on the original show because the original show, you're just trying to survive for 21 days or 14 days if you're a
Right.
fan. But essentially, this one, the time period is extended over 45 days.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like their XL challenges, but not only are you trying to survive naked in the wild, but you're also
Yes.
trying to compete against the other competitors, which is like such a big change from the typical Naked and Afraid.
Yes, exactly. So it's more like, yeah, you're competing against other people.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just fighting to survive for yourself, you're also fighting to survive and like dealing with manipulation from other people and like egos from other
Stealing.
people. And yeah, like Millie said, stealing and just like
Yeah.
diabolical gameplay.
Because there's really not too many rules. Like every once in a while, they'll drop like a little scroll in and let them know that they're going to be a part of this camp or that camp or
Right. Or
something
they're
like that.
migrating or doing a
Right.
challenge or
Yeah, but
something.
even within the camps, like people are still competing as individuals and stuff like that. So it gets pretty intense and like all the personality conflicts, it's like pretty intense.
Yes, absolutely. And we just finished watching all three seasons. So we've
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
gotten a really good gauge of how they've changed over the seasons.
Facts.
And
Where it
like,
started and then where it ended up.
yes,
Facts.
exactly. So we kind of were like, okay, I can see why they made this change, or I can see why they did that, or
Facts.
like I like
Yeah.
how they changed this up. And
Yeah,
I feel like it
exactly.
really did progress from the first season to like a more very heavily like competition
Facts.
season
Yeah,
in the last
definitely.
season.
And I mean, a lot of the challenges that they incorporate into the show, like unlike some of the shows we watch, like Extraction, for example, unlike that element, like in this show, there isn't there isn't like a big hike at the end. Like there is, but there
Right.
isn't. Like most of the challenges throughout the show are like primitive survival skills. So like, can you create a primitive fire? Can you create a primitive trap? Like, can
Can
you
you shoot a bow and arrow?
exactly, like
Like,
very primitive skills, which
yeah.
really highlight like the skill of the
A
survivalist. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, just all the challenges and the legends and then other people who have, a decent amount of survival time. I think like it creates such a cool dynamic of like people who are trying to prove that they are who they say they are and who are doing these
Mm-hmm.
survival jobs in real life, and then the people who are trying to prove themselves as like major survivalists. So
Yes, facts. Because we've seen some people that are on there, they've been doing Naked and Afraid challenges for like a decade. They have over
yeah,
250 days survived naked in the wild.
facts,
Like,
facts.
that is so
And
crazy.
so some of like the most notable people throughout the seasons, I feel like we could call some of them
Yeah.
out. So Waz from season one, he was season one winner,
Mm-hmm.
very strong personality, Australian guy, very strong survivalist.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think Jeff is another one.
Yes.
He was kind of like public enemy number one in
In the
season
first
one.
season, oh my
Yeah, they could not
gosh.
stand this guy. And then season two, he definitely had like a big like character development arc.
Definitely, yeah.
And yeah,
He was
honestly,
faking it, but
yeah,
like, We see
But
you.
yeah, we appreciated Jeff in the long run. I think
Yeah,
throughout both seasons, I think he was someone who kind of grew on you because you kind of root for the underdog,
I
you know.
know.
And Gary
Yeah,
was another one.
Gary. Yeah.
Um,
Chini.
Cheney, yeah,
She was big
facts.
in season one
Yep,
and then
yep.
like got to the final in season three.
Yeah,
So really
huge. Yeah, and it
cool
was really cool seeing like the woman representation. Obviously there was the controversial departure of
in
three women
season
in season
three.
three, which kind of shook everybody that was still there. But we
Crazy.
were really glad that Chini decided to stay and really like carry the torch for women and
Yeah,
for
absolutely. Because
yeah.
the other woman that we saw make it really far in season two, I believe it was Kai, also
Yeah,
Australian woman.
she was a
So
killer.
she was a really great survivalist. Also
Yeah.
love seeing the woman representation. She's
Hmm.
done a lot of different Naked and Afraid challenges. So
Yeah.
she was a big one. And then Dan.
Dan, yeah, winner of season two.
Yep,
Yeah, he just a fire survivalist from start to finish. I
for
mean, a
real.
lot of skill set, tons of energy, and then again, kind of the another big thing with him when he won season two, he was like the first gay man to win Naked and Afraid. Obviously, the what is it? The Last One Standing was a newer iteration of Naked
Mm-hmm.
and Afraid, but still, again, the representation for someone in his community to stand up and win a survival challenge, which is
Yes.
typically usually associated with very cis like people.
Yeah, like white men.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. So really cool for Dan to also show up and show out and get
Yeah,
the win for season two,
absolutely.
because he deserved it after the grind and being the runner up from season one.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah, he really deserved it. And he also had like good character growth cuz
Facts, facts.
let's get right into season 1.
Yeah, let's
Let's
talk
just
about
talk
season one.
about season 1 because
Yeah.
season 1 really had like a Mean Girls crew.
Facts. Yeah, it was like kind of weird, right? Like Jeff seemed to be the only person who understood that it was a competition and everybody was competing against each other.
Yes, like I kind of understood at the beginning. We kind of like saw Waz's point of like, oh, we're here, we're sharing, like we all want to support each other. And we were like, all right, yeah, sick. Like,
Yeah,
love that. And Jeff was the only one who was like, well, I'm only gonna give you this. I'm only gonna do this if you give me
he wanted
that.
to trade, he wanted to
But
barter,
like
and nobody
that's what
else
they
was hearing
wanted
that.
though,
Yeah,
because after that season, not to completely move on, we're
that's
gonna come
okay.
back to it, but
Yeah,
after that season, they literally made explicit rules that you could not share. So it was
especially
like,
between camps. Like it
yes.
had to be a trade or a barter or something
Or
of that
like you are
nature.
letting them borrow it for like a short time, but it's still your
Exactly.
item.
Yeah.
So it was like they
And they did a
really,
lot more in the later seasons of like you had to sacrifice your item at the start of a challenge. So it
yeah,
was like where you finished in a challenge would dictate what survival item you got.
exactly. Yeah. So
Um,
they really, I think they really started season one out pretty bare bones with the rules and like the
Facts.
competition aspects. And
Yeah.
then they really like brought it back in season two, season three
Facts.
with the competition aspect. Another survivalist that we didn't talk about was Matt. He
Oh
was in season
yeah.
one and three.
Matt. He's a champ.
Yeah. Got injured both seasons.
Facts. Yeah. Yeah. Numerous times in season
Yeah. I
three.
mean,
But overall, like such a great survivalist,
yeah,
and obviously like
truly.
that's his job in real life, so definitely speaks volumes to the things he was able to do out there. I mean, he was the
Yes.
only one to get big game kills numerous times in
Yeah.
season three, and even in season one, like he was a very important asset to whatever group he was a part of up until his injury.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, just really cool, like seeing like the skills that all these people bring to the table, because a lot of people consider themselves a survivalist, but what does that survival really entail,
Right.
right? Like there's a guy in season 2 and 3, I forget I'm blanking on his name right now, but he was essentially like someone who hiked and camped as his
Patrick.
full-time job. Patrick, yeah, another
He
interesting
was like
character.
what everyone thought Jeff was.
Right. Patrick really embodied like the spirit of
What they
Jeff.
thought Jeff was.
Yeah,
But Jeff
facts.
never did a
He
lot of the
never
things
did
that
what
he
Patrick
did.
did.
Yeah,
No, he never
Patrick was super
stole. He never
tricky, as they called him.
exactly. But he spent his career outside of Naked and Afraid, going on these sponsored hikes and with a bunch of gear and survival
Expensive fancy
equipment.
gear.
Right. And so the question really is like, can you be a survivalist without that expensive gear and all of
Right.
those things. And I think that's kind of what sets Naked and Afraid apart from a lot of survival shows, because
Defo.
everything is so reliant on primitive survival. And, like, primitive ways are hard,
Yeah,
it's
especially Last One Standing, 'cause they really
facts.
forced people to like do primitive
Right. I
fire.
know. Okay,
That
so
was
what's the deal with the primitive
crazy.
fire, right? I just kind of assume that's like baseline survivalist.
I
And then it's
know.
like a multi-day challenge. Like,
Yeah, because people are so reliant on ferro
ferro
rods.
rods. Yeah, honestly, yak the ferro rods. I want to see primitive fire. I want to get
I
those hands moving,
know.
baby.
There was one person we saw do it in like 2 seconds in a
Yeah,
Naked and Afraid
facts.
challenge, and we were like, he made that look so
Yeah,
easy. And then we're
facts.
watching these Last One
Oh,
Standing,
yeah,
and they're taking days to create fire. Some people couldn't even create fire after
facts. It tapped a
days.
lot of people out, like Jeff
Yes.
included in season
Yeah, and
two,
Gary.
and Gary in season two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So,
So the
pretty
primitive
nuts.
fire,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, what were you gonna
No,
say?
I was gonna say, but back to season one.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Season one.
Back to season one, just like thinking about even the people who were in that show and like, or in that season, and like the things that they were doing, and just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
people were, as much as they were talking about like the sharing aspect and like, oh, if you want to trade, like, we're not going to be giving you anything, and like
Right.
they were preaching all these things of like sharing and making sure everyone's fed, and like at the same time starving Jeff
Yeah,
out.
Jeff. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Like, definitely was giving like Mean Girls Club type vibe. Like,
Yes.
I just feel like, you can't pick and choose when to have your morals. And that was like my big frustration with Waz, who is like kind of the leader of the Mean Girls clique in season one.
Facts.
Despite his excellence at survival, it's like the personality aspect was a little bit flawed for me. Like, you can't pick and choose when you want to apply your morals to the tribe, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if your moral is to share with everyone, then you should be sending a message to Jeff by sharing with him that we are better than you and we know it. And by
Mm-hmm.
knowing it, we are going to include you in our meals, in our stuff, because we are proving that we are better people. That
Exactly.
would have
It's
been the way to
like
go about it.
leading by example
Facts,
and being like,
100%.
this is how we think that we should be living out here, instead of being like,
Exactly.
oh, well, you don't want to live the way we want to live, then you don't
You
get to
don't
have
get anything.
anything.
Yeah.
And it's like they were also shaming people for sharing with him.
Facts. Yeah, they
Like they
did.
made it such a big deal. They were like, you're a traitor, like you're sharing
Yeah.
with him. We said
That
nobody
was
shares with him. And
nuts.
they're like, we're in his camp.
Facts.
I caught a fish and I'm sharing it with him. Like,
Meanwhile, his camp members, one night in the middle of the night, they all claimed to hear a noise and snuck off and went and ate food at another camp while bro was sitting there by
by
himself. Like,
himself.
they treated him terribly in season one.
So
That was not
poorly.
okay. And you could tell that production was also not a fan of the way that they operated in season one, because they took out a lot of the opportunities to do that same thing.
Yeah,
Like,
100%. And like, I definitely get Jeff rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. He definitely had like controversial ideas and was like
definitely. He
yelling
was
and
saying crazy stuff.
saying crazy things. So like, I get it. I get where they're coming
We're
from, but
not
at the
saying you had to
same
like him.
time,
Yeah.
yeah, like you don't have to try and literally starve him out of the
competition.
challenge. Like
Yeah.
that's just crazy.
Because it's just like, conversely, like in season three, right? Matt, who was also a part of that clique in season one, it was pretty ironic that he was so open and willing to share with his competition, right? Like, he shared and fed every kill to everybody.
Yes.
And that competition then turned around and beat him in the survival tests that were occurring.
Yes.
So it was almost like, in this season, you wanted everybody to be strong and up to their best and all of those things, but you guys didn't have that same thought process with Jeff in season one,
right,
of like wanting to beat him at his best. You guys were willing to go dirty with him.
Facts.
But then again, showed some character
Like,
development, because
yeah.
later on, Matt obviously ended up feeding the guy who beat him for the title.
I know, yeah, that
So,
season 3 win was crazy.
Yeah,
but also
it
like
was.
even Dan in season 2,
Yep.
he was like partners with Jeff for a little while. Like they got
They
along
worked
really
great
well. They
together.
worked
They
so
were
well
enemies in
together.
season 1, and then in season 2 they were the best Naked and Afraid partnership that we've seen. Like they
Yes.
were unbelievable
So
together.
good
They got
together.
the net out of the tree together. They caught food together. They were
They were doing
flowing. And I feel like,
everything.
again, it highlighted like when survivalists lean on each other and utilize each other's skills, they can definitely excel. That is why, in humanity, we talk about it takes a community, it takes a tribe.
Yes,
There
true.
is a reason those sayings exist in our species.
That's
It is
true.
because we have witnessed the success of humans when we work together.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we see like every time we see people that are alone in the Naked and Afraid challenges or any of the other survival shows we watch, it's like
Yeah.
the hardest part for people is the missing of human connection and like of
Facts.
their relationships and being able to have conversations with people that they love and
True,
being
true.
able
The
to
family
just like
aspect,
having
yeah.
that community around them. And
100%.
like to your point, that really is so important. And like
Definitely.
if you're gonna if you're gonna have that mindset for some people, you also need to have that mindset for all people, you
100%. Yeah,
know.
completely agree. Completely agree. But yeah, I think, Naked and Afraid, I really appreciate the premise of the show, the survival elements, being out in the elements, fully in your birthday suit, really trying to survive
Yes.
out there. It is pretty crazy. But I
Yeah.
really, really love the appreciation they give the animals that they kill.
Mm-hmm.
I love that they are so thankful and appreciative to like re-nourish themselves, and they
Yes.
can recognize the fact that an animal, another living being, sacrificed its life, not willingly, but
Right.
gave its life in order to give life to the humans in the survival challenge. And I feel like it's definitely made us more appreciative of the food we eat and stuff.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. It
yeah.
really like reconnects you to the thought that like, okay, this is meat. It's gonna be giving me protein, but I also am aware of the fact that like this is an animal. This was an animal
Facts.
that had to die so that I could eat. I
Yeah.
feel like there's a lot of disconnection from that, like you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
of like people just buy stuff in the grocery store and you're not really
You don't
having
know where
any
it comes
thought of
from.
like the animal that had to die for it.
Facts, yeah. And I think that like it definitely speaks volumes too. Like in Naked and Afraid, it's like, they're not eating every day. They're having to go long periods without food
So
and really
long.
lean into like skill and knowledge and creativity to create traps, create fishing assets,
Yeah.
and, kind of make food tangible for them. And I think it definitely speaks to like the old humans, back in the day, like, what they went through and what they did to survive is pretty unbelievable and pretty
Yeah.
unheard of. And yeah, I
Truly.
feel like, again, we need to be aware of our roots. I feel like as a species just a little bit more.
Yeah,
I feel like we've lost a little bit of the plot here. We're not quite chasing after the same philosophical questions that we were historically.
definitely not.
So
Yeah, it's kind of like the philosophers of the past have almost answered the questions and like come up with the like knowledgeable texts that we can read now.
yeah,
And like people were like, all right, that's
that sounds
good.
good
That's
enough.
all we need. And then everyone has just lost connection to like
Yeah,
the deeper meaning of life and like the
facts.
meaning of our surroundings and like the beauty in
Yeah,
our worlds.
100%. And I feel like, when you're getting to see like on Naked and Afraid, you're seeing these beautiful, like untainted environments they're in. You're seeing the animal life, the bird, like, it's just like crazy to think that in most places where humans live, we don't really see animal life, right? Like we're not seeing a lot of animals, maybe some birds, maybe some rats, but we're not seeing like pristine animals or we're not
No.
we're not exposed to any of that as humans. And I feel like it definitely speaks to like the degradation of our planet and, continuing to shrink these ecosystems. And that's really sad. Because connecting with nature, getting back into nature, I feel like is such an important part, and it's integral to who we
Yeah,
are as humans.
absolutely.
Um,
Yeah, so true. And I feel
yeah,
like they really, excuse me, they really show that with like Naked and Afraid. They really
yeah,
show that like reconnection to the world around you and like
facts.
the hardships that humans have had to go
Yeah,
through in the past that we just don't really even think about because it's
facts.
like we have the clothes on our back. We just go to the store and buy clothes, but like
Literally.
humans don't naturally just have clothing available to
Facts.
them. Like
No.
everyone out there, we've seen people make outfits out of
Yeah, to
animal
some
hides.
rawhides. Yeah.
Yes, but like I mean, everyone is just naked because that's how humans used to live, and it's very,
Yeah.
very primitive.
Facts. Yeah. And that, yeah, the primitive element is just peak, honestly. It just really brings reality to what survival would be like without all of our modern day amenities, which
100%.
is why like Naked and Afraid has been of such interest to us. But I think like, The Last One Standing definitely is a good branch off of the original. It definitely has a lot more competition, a lot more of like the
Yeah.
personality flares and like things like that. People doing whatever it takes to win. Not always on the most moral guy, but
Yeah,
I feel like across the 3 seasons, like it was a good watch. Like
I agree.
it was an enjoyable watch to see the development, to see some people resurfacing, to see other people. It was
Yeah,
just great, man. Like yeah, just really cool to see all of those great survivalists competing against each other
facts.
for a grand prize. Because obviously, normal, Naked, and Afraid is just for kicks and
Just for
gigs.
fun.
Yeah, so at least in this competition, they're like competing for something. They're trying to out survive people to achieve like an end goal, a
Yes.
monetary goal, and I think that that makes a difference.
Yeah, 100%. And I really love the aspect that they like test people's primitive skills in their challenges
Facts.
versus it just being like an endurance challenge.
Exactly. It's like, you say you're a survivalist, well, prove you're a survivalist.
Right.
What are your survival skills? And I think that that is so important, right? Like that is how you
100%.
prove it. Like I can definitely appreciate Alone and Outlast and shows like that, but again, it's just like you don't necessarily have to do those same sorts of things that these people are having to do. Although,
Right.
Alone people obviously are hunting and those sorts of things.
Yeah, Alone
But
is an intense show for
yeah,
sure because
it
you're a
is
100%
Alone,
alone.
right? But again, you kind of get the benefit of some of those more modern tools and hunting assets and stuff. So
Yes.
it's a little different. It's a little different, but I think like yeah, look, Naked and Afraid, Last One Standing, it definitely was a nice competition. They brought in some really good elements,
Yeah.
some really primitive things, which I feel like as fans is always fascinating to see.
Yes, and I feel like it was also interesting how they would talk about how it was so different from normal Naked and Afraid
Yeah,
challenges. Like we heard someone compare it, and we'll have to get into these too. We're planning on watching some of the Excel
yeah,
challenges that people have done. Like
facts.
they were talking about how everything that they were doing on Naked and Afraid, Last One Standing, was very similar to the XL, but it was like with the element of the competition, it just
Right.
winded people, it exhausted people. Like it
Yeah.
really, like we saw someone with heat stroke, like it really
Facts.
wore people out because of the competition aspect, and there
Yeah,
wasn't as
it's
much
true.
sharing because of that.
Facts. And it's just like, we don't really think about like, we expend a ton of energy during the day. But then it's like, imagine when you're building a shelter, when you have to complete a challenge where you're racing people, it's like they're burning tons of calories. And then it's like they're eating one fish for a week.
Right. And then
It's
you have
like,
to like constantly maintain fire, gather firewood, get water, boil
yeah,
water, like find food, work on your shelter, make sure it's
pass.
waterproof, like all these
Yeah,
things.
there's
It's
so
so
many
much that goes
elements.
into it that you don't think about.
Facts. So many elephants. So many elements to the shows for sure.
Yes.
And I guess like my one big complaint I would say of just watching these shows is just the streaming element, right?
Oh, yeah.
Why is Discover Plus its own streaming service? Discover used to be a channel on cable
I
television,
know.
and now Discover Plus is its own streaming
I
service.
know. And don't Google, do not tell me that I can watch something on Amazon Prime. And then when I go to Amazon Prime, it says watch exclusively on Discovery Plus.
Just ridiculous. Yeah,
No.
just ridiculous. So there are a couple of the Love Island, or there are a couple of the Naked and Afraid subsidiaries that we will probably not watch because we refuse to get a Discover Plus subscription.
It's
We have too many
crazy.
subscriptions at this
Yeah,
point. Like
please.
honestly,
And
we're
we have to pay to buy, we had to pay to buy the last one
facts.
standing.
Yeah, we did. We had to buy them on Amazon. So
Crazy.
pretty frustrating that all of these things, all of this content isn't in one succinct place that we could watch it, for, whatever a baseline price without having to spend additional funds. So that was my frustration with
Yeah,
this, just because like, unless you have a Discover Plus subscription, it is a little bit difficult to watch these shows. So that's definitely one drawback that I had. And I
100%.
hope that, Hulu will pick up some more of these shows in the
I
future. So
know. And Hulu, get more seasons of Naked and Afraid.
I know.
But you know what?
Hmm.
The seasons that were airing like soon, I think they're out now. So we'll have to go check those
Oh,
out.
hey,
Just
hey,
had that
hey, hey.
epiphany.
That's lit. Okay. Yeah, we'll have to check those out for
Yeah,
sure.
let's do it.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Anyway,
But anyway, yeah, those were our thoughts on Naked and Afraid, Last One Standing. We watched all 3 seasons. We enjoyed it.
yes,
Primitive Survival is lit. It's very fun to watch.
it
Very
is.
enjoyable.
It's
So
very fun, and I don't want to do it.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. We will never do it. Yeah.
No, thank
You'll never
you.
see us out there. So
Anyway,
we'll just comment on
if
it.
you made it this far,
Thanks for watching.
we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Bye.
Oh man.